Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and today is a monumental day. Big time. Big time. Today is the day that you and I, as XRP holders and as digital currency holders, we have been redeemed, but specifically as an XRP holder. Because remember, the entire inception of my channel and the reason that I talk about XRP all the time, this didn't happen by accident. There's a reason that I saw XRP as what made sense over Bitcoin. There's a reason for all of this. Remember, all of these people for all these years have been telling us that, oh yeah, down with the banks, and long, what do they say? Long Bitcoin, short the bankers. That's what we've been told. But those of us that hold XRP, we've been around. We knew better. And knowing better meant that we knew with everything in us that didn't make any sense. You're not going to have some revolution. The banks and the powerful people are always going to be the banks and the powerful people. You're not going to change that. That's life. That's the way the world works. And for that reason, I always thought, hey, look at these guys with Ripple. They're doing the smart thing. They're going to these regulators. They're working with these regulators, and they're working on the primary use case for XRP, which is for payment flows, and they're working on the idea of replacing the Nostro Vostro money around the world to improve upon the current banking system, not to try to have a revolution and replace it. Today, we got the greatest news that I have seen since I got into digital assets, folks. And I want to make sure you understand its significance, because here it is. And I tweeted this. I tweeted it out twice. It was such an important piece of news. Before I go any further into this, I've related this story before, but I'm going to tell you again. When I got into this space in 2013, I told my wife, I said, now listen, one of two things is going to happen. I've invested us in this thing. They're called cryptocurrencies, or crypto back then is what everybody called them. I said, we've invested in this thing, and one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to lose all of our money, or one day you're going to be able to send this into, say, like an E-Trade account or something like that. And you're going to be able to send it there. Now, if this goes from where it is here, which was in 2013, to being able to send it into a traditional financial account like that, I told my wife at that time, I said, if that happens, it's going to be a game changer, not just for us, but for the world. And today, folks, today is the day that the U.S. government put the stamp of approval. And now your friends, and remember, this is also a monumental day from this perspective. Your friends have laughed at you. They told you were stupid for investing in digital currencies. They laughed at me. I've been laughed at since 2013. I've had people roll their eyes at me, tell me I didn't know what I was talking about. Laughed at. Oh yeah, he's just some kooky guy that talks about this weird, digital currencies, Bitcoin. They've all pointed and laughed. Guess who gets the last laugh, folks? Let me show you what happened today. We win. Because we went with our gut. We did what the official father of the Digital Asset Investor channel has always told me. He said, invest in what your gut tells you is right. Don't worry about what other people say. You invest in what makes sense. And Ripple made sense. The people at Ripple made sense. XRP made sense. And everything has always made sense about it since I started following it. And here we are. Today's the day, folks. It's on like Donkey Kong, like I said here. And right here, it is also, I said, remember that 99.9% that aren't in crypto yet? Here they come, all the money. Now, let's look at the article. Banks in the U.S. can now offer crypto custody services, regulator says. The office, I'm going to read I don't read whole articles, but I do today. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is letting all nationally chartered banks in the United States provide custody services for cryptocurrencies. In a public letter dated July 22nd, Senior Deputy Comptroller and Senior Counsel Jonathan Gould wrote that any national bank can hold on to the unique cryptographic keys for a cryptocurrency wallet, clearing the way for national banks to hold digital assets for their clients. The letter marks, and while I'm sitting here reading this, folks, I also am thinking about this. Many of you out there had these banks take your bank. Many of you have had your bank accounts closed because you had the nerve to buy cryptocurrencies, and now they're about to not just store them, but they're going to be selling them to you. I've been telling you for 2 years on this channel that they're going to be, once these people figure out a way that they can make money off of it, once they're approved to make money off of it, every product you can imagine is going to be being sold to you, and they're going to be the ones selling it to you. And that's what we're seeing right here. It's game on, folks. The letter marks a major development for the crypto industry. Previously, custody was the province of specialist firms such as Coinbase, which typically needed a state license such as a trust charter to offer the service to large investors. Now, large regulated financial companies that already provide similar safekeeping services for stock certificates and the like could enter the fray. The letter, which appears to be addressed to an unidentified bank or similar entity, notes that banks may offer more secure storage services compared to existing options, and that both consumers and investment advisors may wish to use regulated custodians to ensure they don't lose their private keys and therefore access their funds. Providing custody for cryptocurrencies would differ in several respects from other crypto custody activities, the letter said. It pointed to the need for digital wallets, adding that because they existed on a blockchain, there's no physical possession for cryptos. The OCC recognizes that as the financial markets become increasingly technological, there will likely be increasing need for banks and other service providers to leverage new technology and innovative ways to provide traditional services on behalf of customers, the letter said. Banks can provide both fiduciary and non-fiduciary custodian services, the letter said. It also specified that banks entering the space should develop and implement those activities consistent with sound risk management practices and align them with the bank's overall business plans and strategies. The OCC, now folks, remember, another thing I've been telling you for 2 years, these guys have been sitting on the sidelines and they've been watching these Coinbases and all these places make the money, and it's made them sick. They've been sitting on the sidelines waiting, pretending like they didn't understand this cryptocurrency thing. They knew exactly what it represented. It represented a money maker. They were sitting there watching Binance and all these companies make money hand over fist. They wanted in on the game because they smelled the money. I've said it for 2 years. They smelled the money, and now they're getting a piece of the action. Here it comes. The OCC is currently headed by Brian Brooks, Wednesday's letter also reaffirms the OCC's position that national banks may provide permissible banking services to any lawful business they choose, including cryptocurrency businesses, so long as they effectively manage the risks and comply with applicable law. JP Morgan, now I've got this, I'll show this to you. They mention it here. JP Morgan is one such national bank that provides banking services to crypto companies, having provided support to Gemini and Coinbase earlier this year. You think JP Morgan didn't get their hat tipped to what was going to happen? This is the article they're referencing right here. So JP Morgan knew about this way before all the rest of us. Okay, now let's go back. Let me get back to the article. I think that's it. Then they provide the actual letter, but James Rule provided the thing to me in a PDF. I wanted to read the introduction and then the background part. This letter responds to your request regarding the authority of a national bank to provide cryptocurrency custody services for customers. For the reasons discussed below, we conclude a national bank may provide these cryptocurrency custody services on behalf of customers, including by holding the unique cryptographic keys, This letter also reaffirms the OCC's position that national banks may provide permissible banking services to any lawful. Okay, so they're basically saying the banks can now provide services to customers such as Coinbase, like customers that are in the crypto business. So that's opened up too. But this is where it gets really interesting, the background. Cryptocurrencies, also known as digital currencies and virtual currencies, not commodities or securities, folks, are designed to work as a medium of exchange and are created and stored electronically. Depending on the type of cryptocurrency, it may have characteristics of either fiat money or money backed by some underlying asset or claim. Fiat money refers to instruments that do not have intrinsic value, but that individuals and institutions are willing to use for purposes of purchase and investment because they are issued by a government. Government-issued currencies, including the U.S. dollar, following abandonment of the gold standard, are traditional fiat money. Some types of cryptocurrencies may have similar characteristics as fiat money because they are not backed by any other asset. Other types of money may be backed by assets such as a commodity. The U.S. dollar was a type of asset backed by money prior to abandonment of the gold standard. Some types of cryptocurrencies may have similar characteristics to this type of money. For example, stablecoin as a type of cryptocurrency that is backed by an asset such as a fiat currency or a commodity. How many times they mentioned the gold standard 2 times in that intro, folks? I don't think that should be missed. So I tweeted out a few things today that came to mind. If you can store XRP at your bank, you better believe they'll be selling and exchanging it too. Zero doubt ever. All right. And here's another. Did the OCC just declare XRP and other cryptocurrencies? They didn't refer to them as securities or commodities. That's for sure. They did not. They called them digital currencies and virtual currencies. And remember, when Ripple was fined by FinCEN in 2015, $700,000, they called it a virtual currency, folks. Virtual currency. Okay. And then I said this, there's 328 million people in the United States, 328 million Americans who will now be able to buy and hold XRP in their bank accounts, and just 100 billion XRP ever. Bring it. You got that right. Remember all those people that have been laughing at you that said this was all a joke and it was stupid, didn't make any sense? They are in the somewhere between 0.1 and 1% of people. Or in the 99.1 to 99.9% or so that don't own cryptocurrencies and especially don't own XRP or know what XRP or Ripple is. Folks, they're coming. They're coming. All right. Now let's move ahead. I want to make a point here. This $279 billion is what is in all of crypto. And in XRP, you got $8.9 billion, folks. Look at what the banking system, this is the top 15 largest banks in the United States. In the years, the nation's biggest banks have grown substantially. The top 15 largest banks now hold a combined $11.84 trillion. And today, folks, here's what you know beyond a shadow of a doubt. That the core cryptocurrencies, the handful that are the real deal, the top 10, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the XRP, what you know is that those things are going to be offered at your bank. All of these banks, JP Morgan has just gotten first mover advantage. All of these banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, all these banks, all the money, folks, all the money, $11.84 trillion, your digital assets are going to be side by side with not $279 billion, but $11.84 trillion. And that's just the United States. If you think that that's where all this ends, then think again. And there's only 100 billion XRP. And if you've been listening to my voice for any period of time, you're one of the lucky ones because you're already in. The rest of these poor saps are just now about to hear about this news, and they're just now going to start asking their financial advisors, these guys who now are going to have an incentive to sell this stuff. They're going to say, oh, okay, so now I've been waiting for you to tell me it's okay and the water's warm. And their financial advisors are all of a sudden going to say, wait a minute. Yes, this is a great thing. You should be investing in this. We need to get you some exposure to Bitcoin and XRP. We always knew we were right, but you had, in order to get the big prize, You had to go through the pain of thinking of all of the negative articles. Remember all of 2018, 19, all the articles that told us that this was going to be declared illegal here and illegal there. And what did we say? No, it's going to happen because we knew. We did our homework. All of the money, folks, not some of the money. Now, Big Skinny sent me this. He is the official, by the way, he's the official smart aleck of the Digital Asset Investor channel. And he sent me this tweet from Fidelity Digital Assets. We applaud the regulators' continued focus on digital assets. Fidelity Digital Assets serves institutional customers directly and through relationships with intermediaries. We're here to help banks and other deposit-taking institutions hold digital assets in their sub-custodian. These guys have all been waiting. They knew it was coming. And then Michelle Vandenberg sent me this tweet from Michelle Bond. Michelle Bond, by the way, Global Head of Government and Regulatory Affairs for Ripple. Very exciting crypto regulatory developments out of the OCC today. Great work, Brian Brooks and OCC. And this is a tweet she's tweeting. Big news on the crypto regulatory front. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has granted authority to federally chartered banks to custody crypto assets. We conclude a national bank may provide these cryptocurrency custody services on behalf of customers. Boom. And then a guy we have not heard from, and we need to give a shout out to Ryan Zagone because he was working on the regulations at Ripple when they first started. This guy deserves a shout out big time. He says the tide is turning. Federally chartered banks can now offer crypto custody services. Hat tip to Brian Brooks for balancing innovation and safety and his leadership at the OCC. Let's play an oldie but goodie from Ryan Zagone for you. This is from Stephen from the Bull Diep.
Might still use proof of work.
Great. But I invite Ryan and Desiree, I don't know if you would like to comment on this as well. But Ryan, go ahead.
Proof of work doesn't work. Proof of work doesn't work. It's been widely...
Ryan, proof of work's been working.
Let me finish.
Let him
Proof
finish.
of work doesn't
Let
work.
him finish, please.
And in the early days of Bitcoin, there was a whole group of developers that broke off to create other assets, XRP being one of them, that doesn't use mining, that's cheaper from an energy perspective than Visa, and already scales to 1,500 transactions a second. A lot of these problems have already been solved. The challenge for adoption comes back to policy. The policy uncertainty around some of the assets has limited adoption, particularly here in the US. And I'm speaking from Ripple and XRP because we use that asset because it's a half a cent per payment. It's basically free. It scales and it's efficient. So 1,500 transactions a second at nearly no energy burn. So we're at a point today where there are real solutions to all of these challenges that already exist. Policy has become the challenge. And we heard on the first panel that around centralization on China, and this is going to be a hard pill for Peter to swallow. But 80% of the mining power for Bitcoin is controlled by 6 mining pools, 5 of which are in China. Today, the policy certainty in the US exists for Bitcoin and Ethereum, despite the fact those are China-controlled platforms. So activity goes to those platforms. What we need to do from a policy perspective in the US is look at the places where there are uncertainty. And one place, I'm speaking directly for me here, is XRP, where it looks like Bitcoin. It's decentralized. It's open source. We have 7% of the validation power on that, rather small in there. Grouping or giving clarity to those ones that are very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, that have the same characteristics and should be classified the same way. And then we're creating a level playing field across all the cryptos. I'm not anti-Bitcoin or anti-Ethereum by any means. I think there's a lot of great potential and breakthrough there. But we need to have a level playing field so the market can pick which ones they want to use and not be, as today they are, hindered by regulatory uncertainty.
We've been right all along, folks. And if you don't know it by now, you're not going to know it. We've been right all along. And Brad Garlinghouse was right too. Remember this, Jim? Remember, how many people have you seen in social media? Oh, Brad Garlinghouse, you said that the banks were going to custody this. Oh, you lied and all this talk. Well, here you go. Who said it? Who said
My
it?
prediction, about 1 year ago, I actually was here at the Singapore FinTech Festival, and I got in trouble when I went back to the office because the PR team said I had overstepped by predicting that within a year, I predicted that financial institutions like banks would be using XRP in their payment flows. And that was a year ago that I made that prediction, and I go back to the office and everybody was like, Brad, you're not allowed to say things like that. It turns out I was right, which I remind the team of. So now as I look forward a year from now, like what are the things that are hard for us to imagine being true? And not even specific to Ripple or to XRP's community. I think one of the things that will surprise us a year from now is that banks will be custodying digital assets directly. And I think right now we think about that and think, look, there's no way that's going to happen. They're too conservative. And I think what you're seeing is, two things happening. One is banks are seeing that a lot of money is being made by digital asset exchanges globally, and banks are profit motivated. The second, and as we've talked about up here, certainly Ross has made very clear, is regulatory clarity and regulatory frameworks enable banks and financial institutions to lean into these markets. And I think we will surprise ourselves by this time. By the way, I'll also predict that it will be banks in the ASEAN markets where there is this regulatory clarity and there is a lot of progressive forward thinking. They'll be the first to actually allow for crypto assets custody in their accounts.
So shout out to Brad Garlinghouse. You called it. Shout out to Ryan Zagone for all your hard work, and everybody at Ripple and everybody who was here for these last 2 years. It was not easy at all times, but we've always been right. I don't care. We've been accused of everything. Oh, too hypey, whatever. Well, was it too hypey now? That's my question. It wasn't too hypey. I knew it. Oh, I might dance tonight, and I don't dance. But let me tell you what. We called it, and let me tell you what else we called. What have we heard? We've been telling these guys all this time is not going to be, you're not going to get rid of the banks. We've been hearing this long Bitcoin, short the bankers. We've been hearing this mess for 2 years. That does not make sense. Maybe when I was 18, that would make sense that we're going to, oh yeah, the bankers are gone, whatever. But at age 46, that didn't make sense. And that doesn't mean Bitcoin is not going to do well. It is. But XRP is the one. XRP has always been the one. And XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created. We've been right about it, and we're going to be proven to be even more right. What it is, and what it really is long XRP and long the banks. Because the banks are going to benefit from this new financial system too. And we are going into a new world order. It's good. It's a complete changeover of traditional finance. They are rolling the system into something new. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family. Congratulations, because we've been right all along. And today is a good day, to quote Ice Cube. Thanks for listening.